A future king sits in a quiet Windsor pub, a pint between questions and the dog at his feet, and lets a sliver of the private year spill into public view. Catherine is in remission, the king is progressing in the right way, and the household has learned how to breathe inside a calendar that didn't care who anyone was. That spare update, almost clinically phrased, is the headline. But the real story lives in the strategy that kept the walls upright, because palaces do not protect you from the human condition, they only make the corridors longer, and when the metaphorical rug is pulled you either fall for miles or you build handrails fast. He describes no melodrama, no violins, only impact, missed engagements quietly labeled personal reasons that were actually crisis logistics. The school run guarded like crown jewels, evening walks that looked like exercise but were really triage for a nervous system running on alarms, conversations with 3 children that traded fantasy for calibrated truth, and the daily, repetitive reassurance that families use when they refuse to let fear explain the world to their kids. This is not the montage of a triumphant comeback, it is the rulebook of a survivable season. Pace days, defend recovery windows, ration appearances, treat energy like a budget that must balance, and refuse the trap of bouncing back, because bouncing back is a bruise that gets worse when you poke it, while healing is a plan that works when you protect it. When he says remission, listen to the engineering hiding inside the relief: shorter rooms, cleaner air, fewer handshakes, later mornings when needed, choices made by medicine not momentum, and a new permission structure at the top of the firm that says the calendar now serves health, not the other way around. On the king, the language is deliberately narrow, the public gets the vector, not the vitals, because respect is a boundary, and boundaries, more than titles, are what kept this year intact. What fascinates is how matter-of-factly he draws the line between history and hurt. Duty does not overwhelm him now, family does, and that admission is not weakness but a map. If you know what overwhelms you, you can build the scaffolding that holds you when it hits. The scaffolding is not glamorous, so the cameras glide past it, but here is what it looks like up close. Routine so firm that anxiety shrinks to fit the clock, mealtimes that arrive like trains, a 2-sentence check-in at dinner. 1 feeling, 1 need, so worries have names and cannot grow in the dark, phone rules that move speculation out of the kitchen, and a rule written in quiet ink over the whole house that says no one owes the outside world their insides. There are operational changes too, because resilience is logistics long before it is poetry, briefings trimmed to what matters, travel packed around rest days instead of the other way round, engagements filtered for ventilation, duration, and proximity, a rota that stops trying to make heroics daily and instead makes consistency sacred, and a media posture that trades grandeur for credibility, fewer big words, more small facts. The interview gives you hints and leaves out the messy middle by design. No one televises the clinic smell that sticks to your jumper, the white wall waiting rooms with clocks that tick so politely you want to argue with them, the private vocabulary you learn overnight and wish you didn't know, the lists taped to the fridge that keep a day from veering off a cliff, the hard choice to abandon an elegant plan because the body said no, and the even harder choice to celebrate a good hour without turning it into a 12-hour sprint to catch up. Still, inside the restraint of philosophy is taking shape, and if you want the preview of his reign, this is probably it. Change for good, not for noise, traditions audited for fitness to purpose, appearances earning their keep, patronage measured by outcomes rather than optics, a crown that treats human limits as non-negotiable infrastructure instead of PR problems. Critics will say hope is not a plan, and he would likely agree this is a plan, and the plan is boring in all the ways that work. Identify the few things that matter, defend them from everything else, and accept that boundaries are not apologies but seat belts. He is careful to leave room for the unknowable and still manages to share the part the public actually needs. That hardest year did not become the ruling one. There were days when the house felt like a hospital and nights when the dog was the only creature anyone had energy for, but the ground held. It held because adults were willing to be dull in the right places, bedtimes obeyed even when the diary was screaming, meals prepared in advance because decision fatigue steals more than it looks, exercise reframed as regulation not aesthetics, play scheduled on purpose because laughter is soil for courage, and grief spoken of plainly so it didn't have to sneak into the edges of everything. For the children the approach was the same: enough information to feel respected, not enough to feel responsible. The grown-ups would carry the scary words, the kids would carry their routines, praise for small resilience, sleeping through, finishing a book, kicking a ball hard and laughing like it counts, because it does. And when panic tried to teach the wrong lessons, The house spoke back with schedules and softness until the lesson changed. There is also a calm defiance in his tone about the weather outside. Media. Rumor, the industrial churn of commentary. You cannot stop the rain, you fortify the roof, you fix the guttering, you close a few windows, and then storms are significant but not sovereign. That is why he will not give a date people can circle in red. Hope is real, but hope on a calendar belongs to doctors, not headlines. The quiet message to the audience is ruthless in its simplicity. What you don't feed doesn't grow. The year suggested other adjustments that will outlive the crisis because they make sense even on sunny days, shorter speeches with clearer verbs, fewer platforms with better acoustics, staff empowered to cancel the wrong day without asking twice, metrics that count the invisible wins, a night without worry, an event without a crash, a school week without a wobble, and a culture that carries praise upward instead of pressure downward. There is an unteachable poise in how he credits the people around him without turning them into characters. Catherine's courage. Honored, not displayed. The king's progress acknowledged, not quantified. The children's resilience described, not packaged. It sends an adult signal into a world that confuses access with care. Intimacy is not a public good, it is a private engine, and engines run better when you don't throw glitter into them. Zoom out, and the update becomes a case study in how institutions survive modern scrutiny, not by hiding, not by oversharing, but by saying only what is true and only what is yours to say. That lane discipline builds trust faster than grandeur. It also anticipates the unsentimental arithmetic of the next decade. Audiences don't want mystique, they want competence with a little ceremony on the side. Competence in this context looks like a diary that does not punish recovery, a communications team that writes in human, a security bubble that protects space instead of parading power, and a leadership style that translates pain into design rather than theater. There is a line in the pub that will irritate purists and comfort realists. History does not overwhelm him, family does. To some that sounds like heresy until you remember that history is best served by people who arrive intact. If the family breaks, history loses its messengers. So he keeps repeating the doctrine that got them through the worst stretch: protect what you cannot replace, postpone what you can, and let the outside world be outside, even if it is banging on the glass. He does not ask for pity, and the update does not beg for applause. If anything, it offers a quiet dare. Make your own house boring in the right places and watch what survives. Build a morning that does not require adrenaline. Practice the 2-sentence check-in until even the shy kid speaks. Choose 4 non-negotiables and bite any hand that tries to move them. Find one small good thing every day and treat it like a win worth defending. He learned all this the hard way, but it translates easily. The result is a portrait of a year that tested everything and found the load-bearing beams. Catherine's remission is not a finish line to sprint across but a threshold to step through carefully. The king's trajectory is steady and shielded. The children are informed and unburdened. The man in the middle has stopped pretending the cape does not weigh anything and has started wearing it like a coat, useful, occasionally heavy, and only put on when needed. In a world addicted to spectacle, the most radical thing he does in that pub is refuse to give it to you. He offers steadiness instead, and in the quiet that follows you can hear the unfamiliar sound of an institution choosing to be human on purpose. That choice, more than any one headline, is the news. The crown can wait, health cannot. Ceremony can flex, the kitchen table will not. If the last 12 months turned out to be the hardest year, they also turned out to be the year the blueprint was drawn in thick ink. The next time a storm comes, and it will, the house will not have to invent its courage from scratch, because the handrails are already bolted to the walls. And if you're looking for what he didn't say on camera, it is not a secret, only a practice. Make the important things small enough to do every day, make the noisy things too boring to chase, and let progress be measured in ordinary mornings that arrive on time. That is how a family becomes weatherproof, and that is why a rare update delivered without fireworks may be the most reassuring sound the public has heard all year.